All right, this is the Algebra 2 2.5 through 2.7 review. You have a quiz coming up on Friday, and this should get you prepared for that. So if you're going to do this entire worksheet on your own, that would be great, and then come back and check to see how well you did. If not, you can, follow along with me. That's fine. Okay, so let's start. Number 1 is from 2.5. It says the table of information shows the relationship between temperature in Fahrenheit and the ice cream sales for the canteen. Yum. All right, so first go to, and I will try and write down what I'm doing because I can't show you my calculator, but you're going to go to Stat on your calculator. It's right below the Delete button. So go to Stat and pick Edit. Stat Edit. You're going to edit your list. Now you might have information in there. You could scroll all the way up to L1 and hit Clear and then Enter. Okay, don't ever delete your list, but you can clear them and then do the same thing for L2. Scroll up to L2 and hit Clear Enter. All right, now you're ready to input your information, your data points into your calculator. So L1 are going to be the temps, and L2 is going to be the amount of sales for the ice cream. So if I go too fast, you can always hit pause. I'm going to go ahead and put them in. So 85, 71, 84, 66, 77, 75, 68, and 91. And then arrow over to the right to L2 and put in the ice cream sales. 200, 160, 190, 100, 185, 180, 115, and 230. And be careful, make sure the number of L1s match up with the number of L2s, because if those are off, your calculator will not be able to graph. If you're caught up, great. If not, pause it and put your data in. So let's take a look at the first one, letter A. Graph the data on your calculator. So to graph the data, you're going to go to the Y equals button. Go to Y equals, and then clear anything that you might have in Y1, and make sure that plot 1 is turned on. It's on if it's dark, okay? So go arrow up, I hit enter, now my plots are on. Okay, the next thing you're going to do is you're going to press zoom number 9. That's zoom stat. Zoom 9, and there we go. And so I'm going to quickly plot them on my calculator. If your points are off somehow, okay, it means that you made a mistake entering your data into your calculator. All right, so then I ask you, do these points represent a positive, negative, or no correlation? Well, they are going in a upward manner, and so that would be a positive correlation. Positive correlation. So sketch the graph I did, include the X and Y scales. Now in order to include the X and Y scales, we are going to press the button called window, and that's going to tell us the right window that we've used. So for my min, I have 63.5, so that's the lowest temperature they used, up to 93.5. And then for sales, they used 77.90 and 252.1. Okay, so you just list those there so that we know what our scales are. Now it says to find the line of best fit. We're on letter C, round to 2 decimal places. And then we're going to draw that line on our graph. So let's go ahead and we go back to stat. We're going to arrow to the right to calculate. So press that, stat, arrow to calculate, and you're going to do number 4. Number 4 says LinReg. It stands for linear regression. So LinReg, and then find it, and we'll have to round to 2 decimal places. So here's our equation of our line. Y equals 4.58x minus 183.51. Now, if you did not get that as your line, then something wrong happened where maybe your values are wrong in your list. So you need to go back to Stat Edit and check your list to see if you inputted something in wrong. Now, how accurate is your line of best fit? That comes from the R value, and R equals 0.93. Okay, so that's pretty accurate. It's pretty good. I'm going to write down pretty good. Okay, so it's a pretty good line. And now it says we forgot to draw the line on our graph. So let's go up to y equals. And remember, you can either manually just type in 4.58x minus 183.51 and then graph it. And then my line showed up. It went below these points and above those. And that's where my line showed up. Okay, or if you remember, when you calculate, you can do store regression as L1, or I'm sorry, Y1, my bad. Or you can do that whole thing where you go to y equals, so go to y equals, and then go to vars, number 5, which is statistics, number 5, statistics, and then over to EQ for equation, for the regression equation, and then it'll put the whole thing in. Okay, graph, and there it is. So we should have dots, we should have a line, and now we're on to part E. A heat wave is coming, oh no. Use your equation to estimate the amount of sales when the temperature soars to 96 degrees next week. Now X is 96, okay, because the temperature, if you look up here, temp was L1, which are X values, ice cream sales were the Y values. So we're gonna take this and we're going to use our equation, 4.58, and we're going to plug in 96 minus 183.51. Okay? Or you can also follow the line. You could trace your line. But I'm just going to use my equation right now because it's not too hard. You guys know how to plug numbers in. And so then we get that the sales would be $256.17. So a lot of ice cream being sold there. 17 cents. All right, so that is all of 2.5. You're going to have to know how to do all of this. It's all on the quiz tomorrow. If you're still struggling, go back and do it again. Or take that sheet that I gave you last week and read it and do it again. Or go to the video on 2.5 and do it again. Just keep doing it until you get it, okay? If you need help in the morning, there's going to be math teachers around. I won't be here, but you can ask maybe Miss Cowie. Miss Cowie might help you. All right, let's move on to our graphs now. So now we're going to graph y equals x plus 3 squared. Now remember, you have 3 parent functions. You have y equals x, which is a simple diagonal here. Hi. And then you have y, I'm making a video, yeah, I'm going out of town, so. Y equals x squared, which is a parabola. Thank you, ladies. All right. And then you also have y equals the absolute value of x, which is a v shape. So those are your 3 parent functions. And remember, their shifts work exactly the same way. Okay? So let's try it. Here we go. First one. I've got y equals x plus 3 squared. We are going to shift 3 to the left. Anytime you have a shift on the inside of your function, you're going left or right in the opposite direction. Opposite, okay? So you're starting with a parent function. I'm going to draw the parent function in blue. So here's your parent function. Should go through 1, 1. Okay, nothing's been stretched or anything. We're going to take that, we're going to shift it 3 to the left. So 1, 2, 3. So here it is. Up 1, over 1. And make it a nice U shape. Don't make it a V shape. It's not an absolute value. It is a parabola. That's why it's squared. It's a parabola. Okay, and that's it. All right, take a look at our next graph. This is a shift up 3. That 3 is not on the inside with the squared. With the x, it's going to be on the outside. It's going to move all our y values up. So we start with our parent function, which is over here, the blue one. We're going to shift 1, 2, 3. That's our new vertex. And you just go up 1 and over 1 and draw a U shape. Make sure it's round. Make sure it goes through those 3 points. Okay, and then finally the last one over here. This one has 2 shifts. We're going to shift 2 to the left No, 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 no. No, I'm wrong. I'm so wrong. I'm going to go like that. Nope. We're going to shift 2 to the right, okay, because it's minus 2. We do the opposite. And we're going to shift 4 down. I'm glad I caught myself. See, I make mistakes too. It's all right. All right, so here we go. Start with your basic parent function, which has a vertex at the origin. We count 2 to the right and 1, 2, 3, 4 down. That right there is a very important point. That's my vertex. And so my parabola is just up 1 over 1. Kind of missed, okay? And make it into a nice U shape. All right, any questions? Well, I can't answer them. That's funny. All right, next page. Here we go. Backside. All right, number 3. We're going to write a function rule when our function has been reflected over the y-axis and the x-axis. So let's recall what that means. When it has been reflected over the y-axis, that means that all of the x values have changed, okay? So we need to do f of negative x. If we do negative x, we get negative 5x plus 4. And that would be the equation, okay? If we are reflecting over the x-axis, that means all of our y's are going to change. So we need to do the opposite of the entire function. So if my function is 5x plus 4, well, what's the opposite of that? It would be negative 5x minus 4. Okay, they're very similar, but they're not exactly the same. So let's do this. Let's graph our function f of x. We're going to graph both f of x and the reflections below. So let's graph f of x, which is to go to 1, 2, 3, 4. And we're going to count up 5 and over 1. Or we could go down 5 and back 1. That's the same thing. Okay, so that right there, that red line is f of x. And I'm going to now, in blue, graph it when it's been reflected over the y-axis. So here's the y-axis right here. And when my graph has been reflected over the y-axis, what happens is this point reflects and this on itself. And so we get this line right here. My line's a little thick, but that's what it would be. And if you notice, the y-intercept did not change. It's still 4. It was 4 in the original up here, and it's 4 again. Now let's look at this one. I'm going to graph the original again. So the original was 1, 2, 3, 4, a y-intercept of 4, and up 5 over 1, or down 5 and back 1. So there it is with my positive slope and positive y-intercept. And now the reflection is going to be over the x-axis. So this point that's right here is going to get reflected to down here. And this point that's on the y-axis stays, x-axis stays where it's at. And you get this graph. Now notice on this graph, your y-intercept, which was positive 4, is now down here at negative 4. And your slope is also negative instead of positive. So it both changes. Okay, don't get those mixed up. Just remember, if it's over the y-axis, then that means that you're only changing x. If it's over the x-axis, you're changing the entire thing. All right, that's probably going to be the hardest part of the quiz, I think, unless you're struggling with the calculator, the stat plot. But other than that, that's going to be kind of tough. Okay, number 4. Here we go. Given y equals, we have a negative 2x minus 1 plus 3. So let's do this. Let's shift. We're going to shift 1 to the right and 3 up. Okay, so start at the origin right here. 1 to the right, 2, 3 up. That is your new vertex. Okay, so I would write it over here. My new vertex is at positive 1, positive 3. All right. For this, see this negative 2 right here? This negative 2 is like a slope. You count down 2, so down 2, and over 1, in each direction. And then you draw your absolute value. If your absolute value has a negative out front, like this one does with the -2 right here, it means that it's going to be pointing down. Okay, the axis of symmetry is this line that cuts it in half. Hold on. All right, so, sorry about the interruption, but we have our 3 points. We have 1, 2, 3, and then that yellow line is the line of symmetry, okay? It's symmetric. If I fold my paper in half, it will fold this part onto that part, okay? And what is that line? Well, it's always x equals. Make sure you write that. X equals, and what does x equal at this line? X equals +1. Okay, so that's graphing using vertex axis symmetry. And finally, the last one, number 5. Given the parent function y equals f of x. Now, they did not tell you which parent function it is. We have 3. It could be any of them. So what we're trying to say is it doesn't matter which one it is. If you take this equation and you shift 3 to the left and 5 down, it will look like this. Y equals 3 to the left would be f of x plus 3, and 5 down would be -5. So whether it is your parabola, which would be the function x plus 3 squared minus 5, whether it would be the absolute value, x plus 3 minus 5, okay? It doesn't matter which parent function it is. It could be a square root function, which we haven't even learned yet. And so now you've tuned me out completely. But it would be like this. It would be exactly the same, okay? So basically it's just the shift up and down. You can come in. It's okay. It's lunch. And that's it. All right. Well, good luck on your quiz tomorrow. You're going to do just fine. Do your review homework. Get ready. And I'll see you Monday. Bye.